To start off our biography, we have our title. That is the very first text feature that you will see in a text. Then we have our table of contents. Making history. NASCAR racer Danica Patrick made history on February 24, 2013. Patrick had earned pole position in the Daytona 500. Throughout the 200-lap race, she stayed in the top 10 racers. History happened as Patrick entered the 9th lap. Nearly halfway through the race, she was in the lead. Patrick had the lead for the entire 9th and 91st laps. She became the first woman to hold a lead at Daytona 500. Patrick couldn't hold on to the lead the whole race. She finished in 8th place. But fans watching from around the world knew that something special had happened. Patrick had proved that a female driver could lead a major race. Although Patrick placed 8th, it was the highest finish for a woman in Daytona 500. The previous best belonged to Janet Guthrie, who came in 11th in 1980. Highlight reel. So in 1982, Danica Sue Patrick was born on March 25th in Beloit, Wisconsin, which is also Mr. Sakaria's birthday. 1999, Patrick was offered a sponsorship to race in the British National Series in England. 2002, Patrick returned to the United States to race for Bobby Rahal. 2005, Patrick became the first woman ever to lead during the Indy 500. 2008, Patrick won the Firestone IndyCar 300 in Montague, Japan. In 2012, Patrick started racing for NASCAR full-time. 2013, Patrick became the first woman to lead the pack at a Sprint Cup race during the Daytona 500. So this is a timeline of some of the most important events in her life. And then here we have Danica Patrick, born on March 25th, 1982. She is 5 foot 2 inches tall and weighs 100 pounds. Her car number is 10. So I believe this is like her NASCAR card. It gives us her career statistics and some awards that she's won. A racing family. Danica Sue Patrick was born on March 25th, 1982 in Beloit, Wisconsin. She is the oldest child of TJ and Bev Patrick. She has one younger sister named Brooke. Danica grew up in the small town of Roscoe, Illinois. Danica was born into a racing family. Her parents met in the 1970s at a snowmobile race. Danica's father was one of the racers. Her mother was a mechanic who was helping another female racer. TJ and Bev went on their first date together after the race. Both parents were excited to pass along the racing tradition to their daughters. Danica and Brooke both started racing at the same time. Danica would grow up to be a world-famous race car driver, but it was Brooke's idea to start racing. Here we have our caption for this photograph. Danica and her parents, after she finished first in the Firestone IndyCar 300 in Montague, Japan. First go-kart. Danica was 10 years old when her parents first gave her first go-kart. Imagine, you guys are 9 and 10 years old now. Imagine getting your first go-kart. She had been with Brooke to watch one of Brooke's friends race go-karts. Soon after, Brooke wanted to start racing. Danica couldn't stand her sister doing something she didn't. Danica and Brooke's father set up a course for them. It was in the parking lot of his glass business in Roscoe. He shaped an obstacle course out of empty paint cans. The sisters learned to drive by steering their go-karts between the paint cans. On her first try, Danica accidentally crashed her go-kart into a concrete building. Luckily, she was not injured. Go-karts are equipped with safety belts, and riders wear helmets when racing. So in this picture, Danica knew that racing go-karts could lead to a professional racing career. Famous race car drivers Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon had both started as go-kart racers when they were younger. Soon, Danica and Brooke were ready for a real racetrack. The girls tried out their first go-karts at Sugar Rivers Raceway in Broadhead, Wisconsin. Danica immediately fell in love with driving fast and making tight turns on the track. Learning to race. Once Danica was good at driving her go-kart, she signed up to compete at Sugar River Raceway. Danica took part in her first race in 1992. She was still just 10 years old. In the beginning, Danica's father was her crew chief. He helped her keep the engine of her go-kart in racing condition. Danica drove number 10 go-kart in the races. I wonder if that's because she was 10 years old. Later, she would drive number 10 car in her NASCAR races. When Danica started racing at Sugar River Raceway, she was the only girl racing. She is glad that today more girls are taking an interest in racing. Just 3 months after entering her race at Sugar River, Danica was easily winning races. Sometimes when she finished the race, other drivers still had nearly a full lap to go. Once Danica could easily win races at Sugar River, her father knew that she needed to race faster drivers on bigger tracks. Danica began to race on tracks around the country. Just like Danica, Danica had visited Sugar Driver to meet with girls who are learning to race. Many hoped to follow her footsteps. They say they want to be just like her. Danica tells them that they shouldn't try to be just like her. They should try to be even better. Getting serious. Danica wanted to race year-round. When she was 13, she asked her father to move the family to California. Her father wasn't able to do that. He needed to run the family's business. But he did help her travel around the country for races. Danica's family traveled with her to races throughout the Midwest. Danica won races at the World Karting Association Great Lakes Sprint Series. In 1994, she won her first Grand National Championship. She won the title again in 1996 and 1997. Danica didn't just win the big races, she won almost every race she entered. In 1996, she won 38 of the 49 races she entered. Danica won first place in the WKA Manufacturers Cup. She won in the junior category against 29 other drivers. Meanwhile, Danica also had to focus on school. She attended Onondaga High School in Rockton, Illinois. There, Danica was a cheerleader. Danica also had tried softball and basketball, but racing took up most of her time. In fact, she missed so many cheering practices and games, she was eventually kicked off the squad. That just left more time for racing. Here in this picture, we have WKA. Road tracks are 1.5 to 3.5 miles long. Racetracks have many curves and are not oval shapes like NASCAR tracks. Connections. In 1997, Danica went to a camp called Women in the Winner's Circle Driver Development Academy in Phoenix, Arizona. There, she met female racers from around the country. Most important, Danica was introduced to Lynn St. James. St. James was a famous female IndyCar driver. At the camp, Danica learned how to prepare herself for a race both physically and mentally. She learned how to be a better driver. She also learned how to talk to reporters and fans before and after races. Danica was getting ready to be a professional driver. St. James invited Danica to go with her to the 1997 Indianapolis 500. This is also called the Indy 500. There, Danica met many famous drivers and other people involved with racing. This included race team owner John McComb Jr. McComb saw that Danica was determined, and he thought that she had what it takes to be a great driver. When Danica was 16 years old, McComb offered her a sponsorship. He gave her a chance to race in the British National Series and the British Formula Vauxhall Junior League in Europe. Danica was invited to drive open-wheel race cars. These are bigger and faster than go-karts she had been driving. To Europe and back. It wasn't an easy decision to go to Europe, but Patrick's parents knew that she had the talent to make it as a driver. So Patrick left high school to pursue a racing career in Europe. She lived in Milton Keynes in southeast England. Patrick finished 9th in the Vauxhall Summer Series her first year in Europe. In 2000, her second year, she placed second in the Zetik Formula Ford Series. Patrick earned the highest Formula Ford finish, there's an alliteration, by any American in history, male or female. Yet, Patrick was lonely in Europe. She was making a name for herself, but she missed her family and friends. So in 2002, Patrick returned to the United States to drive Bobby Raw. Raw and his co-owner, TV host David Letterman, gave Patrick an offer. They asked her to train and race in an open-wheel series. Patrick raced midget cars and open-wheel cars in the Toyota Formula Atlantic and American Le Mans series. Patrick worked her way up in open-wheel races. She earned a third-place finish in Monterrey, Mexico in 2003. With this, she became the first female driver in series history to finish on the winner's podium. Patrick finished third in the race in the driver's overall ranking in 2004. This meant she could qualify for the Indy 500 in the Indy Racing League. Rawl announced that Patrick would join his Formula One team. She would make her first appearance at the Indy 500 in 2005. This would make her just the fourth woman ever to compete in the race. In 2002, Patrick raced in the 26th annual Toyota Pro/Celebrity race in Long Beach, California. She earned first in the professional category. Indy 500. Patrick drove the fastest laps of any driver during practice races in the 2005 Indy 500. During the race, she held the lead 3 separate times. In her first Indy 500, Patrick completed a total of 19 laps as the race leader. At age 23, she became the first woman to ever lead during the Indy 500. In the end, Patrick took fourth. She had the fastest finish of any female drivers. At the end of 2005 season, Patrick was named Rookie of the Year. She won the IRL Most Popular Driver Award in 2005, 2006, and 2007. In 2006, Patrick switched teams. She joined Andretti Green Racing. As an Andretti team member, Patrick won her first big IRL race. On April 20th, 2008, Patrick raced at the Firestone Indy 300 in Montague, Japan. She decided to skip a pit stop toward the end of the race. She wanted to catch up to the lead driver, yet skipping this pit stop meant she couldn't change tires or add fuel. It was the right decision. Patrick finished almost 6 seconds ahead of the next driver. In her 15th IRL race, Patrick became the first woman to win an Indy car race. In 2008, Patrick also earned a name for herself as a heated competitor. On July 19th, Patrick and racer Malika Duno were practicing for the Indy 200 on the Mid-Ohio track in Lexington, Ohio. Duno's car was moving slowly and Patrick wasn't able to pass her. After the practice race, Patrick stormed into Duno's pit area. The argument was caught on video and Patrick's reputation as a fierce competitor grew. At the start of the Firestone Indy 300, Patrick was in the third row. She slowly moved up through the ranks, finally taking the lead in the 198th lap. Patrick finished the race in 1 hour and 51 minutes. Could you imagine racing the fastest that you could possibly go for 2 entire hours? That is insane. And that is why she is the #1 female race car driver.